Bernstein is with us. He's a talk show host. He's a political analyst. He's the author of Preserving Liberty, Bold and Brave Solutions to Save America and Create Permanent Freedom. Josh Bernstein, welcome to the Wayne Allyn Show. How are you?
Great to be back on the program with you. February 4th is a very good day. That's my 50th birthday, so looking forward to that day as well.
Hey, cool.
Thank you. First and foremost,
now you got me angry, Josh. You got me angry because my next birthday I'll be 64. So now I'm jealous and angry, but that's okay. I love you. It's okay. I'm glad you're going to be right? In your 50s. So tell me about President Trump's DOJ. When you talk about all the people that Biden has pardoned, and at the top of that list, as much as I hate Liz Cheney and hate Adam Schiff, at the top of the list, and I hate the Biden crime family, they should all be in jail. At the top of my list is Dr. Fauci. I hate that man. That man is a mass murderer, and he was just pardoned. So my question for you is, they're all pardoned. You can't go after them. But can you go after them? Tell me how you would go after them. What would you do to go after people that think that they're now free and clear?
Well, the first thing that I would do is I would pinpoint in particular Dr. Anthony Fauci. Why? Because we know that he lied to the Senate and to Rand Paul about gain-of-function research. This is the reason why they went all the way back to 2014 when himself, Ralph Barrick from North Carolina, and of course Peter Daszak from EcoHealth Alliance, they all got together and they were all working on gain-of-function research with the Wuhan lab in Wuhan, China. So there are a lot of people, sadly, in this country that are suffering from what's known as long COVID. Long COVID is a terrible, debilitating, chronic pain and illness caused from not getting treatment quick enough, basically, for the COVID coronavirus. And so there's a lot of people that would then have medical standing because they have been injured by something that he did. So what I suggest is they get a class action lawsuit together of people that have long COVID, hundreds and thousands of them probably, and do a direct appeal to the United States Supreme Court, force them to take the case and finally decide whether or not preemptive pardoning is something that should be allowed and in the Constitution. I think that if you were able to do that, have the court look at it. If they were to overturn and say, I'm sorry, but this preemptive thing, Article 2, Section 2, which clearly says that you can do that, this needs to be addressed. And if they can rule on that, guess what happens? All the people that were pardoned now are no longer pardoned. So there are ways to do it. And if you can't do it that way, then I just suggest just going after them anyway. Give them the Trump treatment, right? I mean, what did they do? They went after President Trump. They went after his supporters. They tried to bankrupt them. Let's just do the same thing and have some, pardon karma, if you will, on the way out.
Well, so let's talk about this, because you're a smart guy and a creative guy, and I'm a smart guy and a creative guy, and I've come up with some solutions. First of all, you mentioned that anybody who's got long COVID should be part of this lawsuit. Or bring charges, whatever else you could possibly do. But it's more than that, Josh. There are a lot of people that had massive heart attacks, a lot of people had strokes, a lot of people had blood clots, a lot of people have neurological problems, a lot of pilots can never fly again because of the issues they've gotten for the COVID vaccine. And then there's also, in my opinion, several million Americans who are dead, and their estates, their surviving partner, or their children could very well join the lawsuit as well. So it could be even more than you're thinking. It's not just long COVID.
I agree with 100%.
And then, anyone with standing, right. And then second of all, so your idea is great. I'm just expanding it a little bit. And then your idea that, maybe we could get rid of these pardons because there should be no such thing as a preemptive pardon for a crime that has not been charged yet is a great idea. But let me give you a second idea. Why can't you go to the Supreme Court and argue that none of the pardons count because the man who gave the pardons was clearly mentally incapacitated? I believe that would make them null and void if you could prove that Biden, since the moment of the debate with Trump, the whole nation saw that he was mentally incapacitated. From that moment on, nothing he did, it should all be null and void. Nothing should count. And certainly those pardons don't count when a man doesn't know what he's doing. So that's another way to look at it. And let me give you a third one. Let me get your reaction to the third one. How did they get Trump? Well, they went after him with the federal government, Jack Smith, but they also went after Trump on the state level. New York went after him. Georgia went after him. Fannie Willis, Alvin Bragg. Why can't Republican state AGs in bright red, safe Republican states, Utah, Oklahoma, Alabama, Florida, they should all go after Fauci and Liz Cheney and Adam Schiff and the Biden crime family. You can go after anyone who was pardoned on the state level, and there's nothing that federal pardon does to protect them on the state level. Ask Steve Bannon about that. New York State went after him. It doesn't matter that Trump pardoned him on the federal level. How about that one? Let's go after him on the state level.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea as well. Obviously, we want to continue to go through and investigate all of these people. We already have the receipts, right? We have all the proof of the crimes that they've committed. So I think at this point, if they have now been given this pardon, which they have, they can no longer plead the Fifth Amendment. So therefore, you can question them. And if they don't want to be questioned or they defy the subpoena, well, then they get the Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro treatment, and they go to jail for 4 months, right? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. That's exactly what they did to those two patriots. So they can also have, of course, their security clearances stripped as well. So there are ways to punitively damage them. But again, I think you're right. I think you're onto something with the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and the state AGs. I'm telling you, there's no reason why an aggressive Republican state AG can't go after these people the same way that Fannie Willis and Alvin Bragg went after Trump.
Right? It's a state situation.
Right.
He can't touch it, sadly.
Right.
So let's do the same thing in reverse.
Yeah, 14 Peters. You know, let me ask you a question. This was not part of our original discussion, but now you brought up Tina Peters. I get so many emails every day from my fans asking me, Wayne, why aren't you asking for a pardon of Tina Peters? And I have to explain to every one of them. I kind of cut and paste. I said the same thing to every one of them. Tina Peters was sentenced on a state level. Trump has nothing to do with it. He cannot give her a pardon. There's nothing he can do, but there's got to be something we can do. So what if Trump said, well, I'm going to withhold all funding for the state of Colorado to let this miscarriage of justice be undone and Tina Peters is free? And if the governor doesn't want money anymore, you can go broke. Colorado and Denver could go broke. The mayor could go broke. Tell them all, you either let Tina Peters go or I'm cutting off all funding for Colorado. Could a president do that? I don't see why not.
I love it. Yeah, you know what? He can do that, and you're obviously close enough to him to portray that information to him. But the other thing is, let's go after the judge. Let's go after the prosecutors that, did these horrific charges against her that, again, she didn't commit any crime. They were just, exposed. And so they were upset about that, and that's why they did what they did. This is a gold star mom. This is a wonderful human being, a great patriot.
Right.
And that's what needs to do. You're right. Let's put some pressure on Colorado.
No, that's a terrible miscarriage. I fought hard for Jake Lang, really hard for Jake Lang, and I'm about to fight hard for Pete Rose, by the way, posthumously. Pete Rose is now dead, but I want President Trump to pardon him, which will open the way for him to go into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I think it's time to start fighting for Tina Peters, because what's happened to her is one of the great travesties of injustice in the history of this country. Let's talk about your book in the time we have left, Preserving Liberty. What do you think is killing our great nation? I think whatever it is, Trump has probably got the solution in the last 48 hours. He's amazing. He's a machine the way he's going after everything bad I've ever pointed out. He's doing it. Tell us. Give us we got about a minute left. Give us a little synopsis.
He's very poised this time around. You can tell it's not new to him. He's very relaxed, and he's had a lot of time, 4 years, sadly, that they took from him to continue to kind of think about it and things like that. In my book, I have very similar solutions to some of the things that are going on. But one thing I want to stress is that in any other situation, if we had a president come in and put 200 executive orders down, we would be pulling what hair I don't have left on my head out and be freaking out. In this case, we understand why he's doing it because he has to fix all the damage. But I would like to get to a point
Right.
of permanent freedom, as I talk about in the book, in which we can pass actual legislation that will then insulate some of the amazing things.
Hey, Josh, Josh, stay there. We're headed to a break. Stay there. I'll pick you up on the other side. Don't go away. Be right back. All right, back with Josh Bernstein. We're going to do a part 2 here because I'm trying to ask him about his book, Preserving Liberty. Tell us some of the things in Preserving Liberty that perhaps tie in with what President Trump has been doing for the last, Monday, he became president, Tuesday, Wednesday, last 3 days. Anything in that book that Trump is on right now, and what should he be on, as they say, white on rice?
Well, I've come up with a couple of different solutions. The Truth in Media Act. I've also suggested the 51 people have their security clearances stripped. Of course, he's gone ahead and done that. Another thing is reining in the FISA court. You have a court that is working in concert secretively, really, and parallel to the Supreme Court for well over 40 years. It's been around since the late 1970s. It has a 99.9% acceptance rate on spy warrants, and every single person appointed to that court is done by John G. Roberts Jr., the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. So at a very minimum, I talk about in the book, why not take that away from the Chief Justice and force them to go through an advise and consent and Senate confirmation hearing in order to have those judges chosen, although altogether I'd like to get rid of the entire FISA court. But if we can't do that, then it needs some oversight for sure. That's one thing that I talk about. As far as elections and as far as what's happening with the border, I talk about the Swanson section of Vermont, which has the most amount of crossings, because a lot of these illegal immigrants are realizing it's a lot less treacherous and a lot less dangerous to go through Canada than it is to go through Colombia, into Panama, into the Darien Gap, with child traffickers and murderers and rapists and marauders and all these other people go through Central America into Mexico and then into the United States. Why not just take a flight from Bogota, as they've been doing secretly, all these airports, which I expose all those airports, they fly into Canada and then, just walk on over because there's nobody there. And so we've got to have a border construction wall on both sides, not just the southern border. I talk about that in Preserving Liberty as well.
I like it. You know what a bugaboo of mine is I think we should take the Civil Rights Act, I think it was of 1964, I believe, where they basically say you can't, deny someone or hire someone based on whether they're black or white, race, gender, religion, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what they should do? Trump should do an executive order that adds the words political beliefs, because you should not be able to hire someone or fire someone anywhere in America or rent to them or refuse to rent to them just based on, hey, he's a conservative. I refuse to allow him to rent from me. I refuse to allow him admission into college. I refuse to hire him. I think conservatives should be protected the same way that race and religion and sex and gender is protected. All of that. So I think Trump should add to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Your thoughts?
I think that's a great idea. Another thing that I discussed in the book is called the Transition Act that I created, which basically states that anybody from a previous administration would have to reapply for their job. In other words, once their term is up, they have 30 days to reapply for their job. Otherwise, they're fired automatically. And of course, Schedule F will help along with that as well. So we have to understand that these entrenched administrative state folks are stuck there. And it's not necessarily President Trump and his cabinet that are kind of running the country. It's these entrenched bureaucrats from SCS that have been there for 35, 40 years. We need to get...
Hey, Josh, I'm getting a 10 count in my ear. We're on the run. But Josh Bernstein, talk show host. He's the author of Preserving Liberty. Grab a copy of his book. Great guy. Thank you, Josh. God bless. Happy New Year. Great to have you on again. Good night, guys.